chosen ones, God is asking you to do this for him immediately, ladies and gentlemen. There are moments in life when everything goes quiet, not because nothing is happening, but because something so powerful is unfolding that the noise has been temporarily removed. If you are here right now, drawn to these words, it is not an accident. You were guided here. There is a divine message being delivered straight into your awareness, and it carries one urgent truth. You have been selected for something greater than the life you have been settling for. You have felt it, haven't you, that deep inner knowing that you were not meant for struggle, limitation, or constant delay? You have always sensed that your life was designed for more purpose, more abundance, more love, more impact. Yet at the same time, you have watched doors close, people leave, opportunities stall, and dreams seem to drift just out of reach. That confusion was never punishment, it was preparation, because those who are chosen are never given an easy path, they are given a meaningful one. Right now, something extraordinary is taking place behind the scenes. What you have been asking for, sometimes through prayer, sometimes through silent longing, sometimes through tears, is being assembled. But before it can arrive in its full power, there is something God is asking you to do, not tomorrow, not someday, immediately, and that request has nothing to do with effort, struggle, or proving your worth. It has everything to do with how you see yourself. You see, God does not work through force. He works through awareness. He does not push blessings onto people who believe they are unworthy. He moves through those who are willing to assume that what he promised is already theirs. This is why some people seem to step into miracles while others wait endlessly. It is not about who prays harder. It is about who believes deeper. You were never meant to chase your destiny. You were meant to accept it. Every great shift begins the same way internally. Before circumstances change, before money shows up, before love arrives, before doors open, there is a quiet inner decision where you stop identifying as someone who is waiting and start knowing yourself as someone who is chosen. That is what God is asking of you right now, to drop the old story of who you think you are and step into the identity of who you were always created to be. Some of you have been holding on to pain, disappointment, and memories of things that didn't work out. But what if those things didn't fail you? What if they freed you? What if every closed door was removing what could not follow you into the life you are about to enter? What if the loneliness, the uncertainty, and the delay were not signs of abandonment, but signs of elevation? God is not late, he is precise, and when he is ready to move you, he does not ask you to struggle harder. He asks you to believe differently, to think from the place of fulfillment instead of lack, to speak from the place of confidence instead of fear. To expect what you once only hoped for. This message is not for everyone. It is for those who feel the stirring inside their spirit, the ones who know that something big is coming, the ones who are tired of surviving and ready to step into significance. You are not here by chance. You are here because God is calling you to shift right now. And if you answer that call, your entire reality will begin to move in your favor. Your life right now is a direct reflection of the story you have been telling yourself. Not the story you say out loud, but the one you quietly repeat when no one is listening. That inner narrative, the one that runs beneath your thoughts, your reactions, your expectations, is what is shaping every relationship, every delay, every breakthrough, and every disappointment you experience. God is not responding to your spoken prayers as much as he is responding to your assumed identity. What you believe to be true about yourself becomes the blueprint your world is forced to follow. Most people think change begins when circumstances shift. In truth, circumstances shift when the inner story changes. If you secretly see yourself as overlooked, life will continue to overlook you. If you identify as unlucky, reality will keep proving it. If you see yourself as chosen, supported, and favored, the universe must reorganize to confirm that assumption. This is not philosophy, this is spiritual law. God does not need to decide to bless you. He already has. Your job is to decide whether you will accept that truth as your identity. Right now, God is asking you to do something simple but radical. Change what you agree with inside. You have been agreeing with limitations, with past failures, with people's opinions, with old disappointments. You have been repeating the story of what went wrong, who left, what didn't happen, and why it's hard. And every time you repeat it, you are reinforcing the same future. God is saying, stop rehearsing what hurt you. Start assuming what I promised you. The inner voice you keep entertaining is either building your destiny or blocking it. When you say, nothing ever works for me, you are giving reality a command. When you think, I'm always struggling, you are giving God a script he must follow, not because he wants to, but because you are exercising the free will he gave you. Your inner conversation is not innocent. It is creative. It produces. Most people try to change their lives by working harder. God asks you to change your mind first, because effort without a new identity only creates temporary results. You can get a moment of success, a brief improvement, a short-term breakthrough, but without a new inner story, you will always return to the same patterns. That is why some people win the lottery and end up broke again. Why some find love and lose it. Why some rise and fall. Their outer world changed, but their self-concept did not. God is not interested in giving you a better situation if you are still being the same version of you inside it. He is interested in giving you a new state of being. So what is he asking you to do right now? He is asking you to rewrite the story you tell about who you are. To stop identifying as the one who waits, struggles, and hopes, and start identifying as the one who expects, receives, and knows. Expectation is faith in action. When you expect good things, you are not being arrogant. You are being aligned. You are matching the frequency of the promises that already belong to you. God does not want you to beg for blessings. He wants you to assume them. Assumption is the language of creation. When you assume something is true, you stop questioning it. You stop chasing it. You start moving as if it is already part of your reality. And that movement, that quiet certainty, is what causes the unseen to become seen. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. If you are someone who sees themselves as rejected, you will experience rejection. If you are someone who sees themselves as worthy, life will bring you people and opportunities that reflect that worth. God is not testing you. He is reflecting you. Right now, he is asking you to drop the old identity that has kept you small. The version of you that says, I'm not ready, I'm not good enough, it's too late, or maybe for others, but not for me. Those thoughts are not humble. They are agreements with limitation. God never told you that you were small. You told yourself that, and because you believed it, life kept proving it. But today, something is changing. You are being asked to claim a new inner truth, to look at yourself not as your past, not as your mistakes, not as what people said, but as who God created you to be. Chosen, favored, supported, guided, protected. This is not pretending. This is remembering. When you begin to see yourself this way, everything begins to shift. The way people treat you changes. The opportunities that come your way change. The confidence in your voice changes, even your body language changes, and most importantly, the way reality responds to you changes, because reality is not reacting to what you hope. It is responding to who you believe you are. The inner story you tell is always trying to become true. That's why negative self-talk is so destructive. It is not just words, it is instruction. It tells life how to treat you. When you say, I always get disappointed, disappointment listens. When you say, I'm never chosen, rejection shows up. But when you say, I am favored, when you think, things always work out for me, when you feel, I am supported, life has no choice but to follow that script. God is not asking you to fight your fears. He is asking you to starve them by feeding a new assumption. You don't overcome the old story by arguing with it. You overcome it by replacing it. Every time a thought of doubt comes, you answer it with a new identity. I am chosen. I am guided. I am already supported. I am already on the right path. At first, it may feel unnatural. That's because the old story has been rehearsed for years. But repetition creates belief, and belief creates experience. You have been practicing limitation. Now God is asking you to practice expansion. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You have simply been telling a story that kept you there. And now you are being invited to tell a different one, a story where doors open for you, a story where people show up for you, a story where things work out in your favor, a story where you are chosen. This is not wishful thinking, this is alignment. When your inner story matches what God has already designed for you, the outer world must follow. You do not have to force it. You do not have to manipulate it. You simply have to agree with it. So God's instruction is clear. Change your inner story now. Speak differently about yourself. Think differently about your future. Feel differently about what is possible. Because the moment you do, you send a new command into creation, and creation always obeys. You were never meant to spend your life trying to prove that you belong. The very fact that you are here, drawn to this message, is evidence that something within you already knows you are selected. Long before your circumstances reflected it, long before people recognized it, long before doors opened, you were already chosen. And God is now asking you to stop waiting for external permission and begin living from that inner knowing. Most people think being chosen is something that happens later after success, after recognition, after achievement. But the truth is, those things only show up after you accept that you are chosen. The world does not make you special, you decide that you are, and once that decision is made internally, life is forced to rearrange around it. Your self-image is the command. If you see yourself as someone who is lucky, opportunities find you. If you see yourself as someone who is overlooked, you will continue to be overlooked. If you see yourself as someone who is favored, you will be treated with favor. God does not override the identity you hold, he expresses it. This is why two people can pray the same prayer and receive completely different outcomes. One prays as someone who hopes, the other prays as someone who expects. Hope waits, expectation receives. God is not asking you to try to become chosen. He is asking you to accept that you already are. The moment you do, your entire energy changes. You stop walking into rooms wondering if you are wanted. You stop approaching opportunities as if you need approval. You stop loving from a place of fear. You start moving as someone who knows they belong, and belonging changes everything. When you see yourself as chosen, you don't beg for love, you attract it. You don't chase opportunities, they find you. You don't feel desperate, you feel entitled to good things, not in arrogance, but in alignment. Entitlement to good is not ego, it is agreement with God's design for you. You were never meant to live in survival mode. You were meant to live in expectation mode. Chosen people expect doors to open. Chosen people expect things to work out. Chosen people expect support. Chosen people expect protection. Not because they are perfect, but because they know who they are. The problem is, many of you have been carrying a chosen destiny with a rejected identity. You feel called for more, but you think of yourself as less, and that inner contradiction is what creates delay. God cannot fully reveal what you refuse to accept about yourself. You don't rise to the level of your desires. You fall to the level of your self-concept. So if you see yourself as someone who is trying, hoping, waiting, or struggling, that is exactly what you will experience. But when you begin to see yourself as someone who is already selected, life begins to confirm it. This is why inner work is not optional, it is obedience. God is saying, see yourself the way I see you. He does not see you as broken. He does not see you as behind. He does not see you as forgotten. He sees you as appointed. When you begin to look at yourself through that lens, everything changes. Even your past starts to make sense. The losses, the delays, the separations, they were not failures. They were redirections. You were being protected from what could not follow you into the life designed for you. Chosen people are often isolated. Chosen people are often misunderstood. Chosen people are often tested, not because they are cursed, but because they are being prepared. Preparation looks like rejection until you realize it was alignment. Every door that closed was moving you away from something that didn't match who you are becoming. Every person who left was making space for who will arrive. Every delay was fine, tuning your awareness so you could receive what is next. But you cannot receive it while still seeing yourself as unworthy. God does not give chosen lives to those who see themselves as small. He gives them to those who dare to identify as selected. This is why God is asking you right now to change the way you refer to yourself in your mind. Stop calling yourself unlucky. Stop calling yourself late. Stop calling yourself broken. Stop calling yourself rejected. Start calling yourself chosen. Because the moment you do, your posture changes. Your expectations shift, your energy becomes magnetic, and life responds differently to those who know who they are. When you walk into a room believing you are chosen, people feel it. When you apply for something believing you are chosen, you speak differently. When you love believing you are chosen, you do not tolerate what dishonors you. Self-concept creates boundaries. Self-concept creates confidence. Self-concept creates reality. This is why God is not asking you to beg him to pick you. He is asking you to pick yourself, because when you choose yourself, you are agreeing with him. The universe does not respond to need. It responds to knowing that you are worthy, knowing that you belong. Knowing that you are supported, knowing that you are already in favor, that knowing is not something you wait for, it is something you decide, and the moment you decide it, your life begins to reorganize around that decision. So stop asking, will it happen for me? And start saying, of course it will. Stop asking, am I chosen? And start moving as if you already know, because the truth is, God never doubts who you are. The only thing that ever delayed your blessings was your hesitation to see yourself the way he does. Now he is calling you to step into your true identity, not tomorrow, not later, but now, because chosen lives require chosen minds. And the moment your mind agrees with your destiny, everything else follows. The version of you that has been surviving cannot walk into the life that has been prepared for you. The identity that was formed through pain, disappointment, rejection, and delay is not the one that is meant to receive what is next. God is not punishing you by asking you to let go of who you were. He is protecting what you are becoming. And until you release the old self, the new life cannot fully arrive. Most people try to change their circumstances while staying loyal to the same inner identity. They want new money but keep thinking like someone who struggles. They want new love but keep seeing themselves as someone who gets left. They want new opportunities but keep identifying as someone who is overlooked. And that inner loyalty to the old version keeps recreating the same results, no matter how much they pray. God is not asking you to fix the old you. He is asking you to leave it. The old you was built for survival. The new you is built for expansion. Survival mode says, I have to hold on to everything. Expansion mode says, what is meant for me will stay. Survival mode says, I can't afford to lose this. Expansion mode says, what I lose is making space for more. You cannot enter a higher state of life with a lower state of identity. This is why the letting go feels uncomfortable. You are not just releasing habits, people, or situations, you are releasing the self that needed them, and the ego will always resist its own disappearance. It will try to keep you attached to old stories, old fears, old wounds, because those are familiar. But familiarity is not destiny. God is calling you out of who you were because who you were cannot hold what is coming. The old version of you found safety in struggle. It knew how to survive disappointment. It knew how to tolerate less. It knew how to wait, hope, and cope. But the new version of you is not here to cope. It is here to receive. Receiving requires a different self-image. You cannot receive abundance while seeing yourself as someone who barely gets by. You cannot receive love while seeing yourself as someone who is always left. You cannot receive elevation while seeing yourself as someone who is small. So God is saying, let the old identity die, not in a dramatic way. In a quiet, internal way. Every time you choose a new thought about yourself, you are letting go of the old one. Every time you respond differently, you are releasing the old pattern. Every time you refuse to repeat the same story, you are stepping into a new state. The old version of you was built on memory. The new version of you is built on assumption. Memory says, this is what always happens to me. Assumption says, this is what happens to me now. Memory keeps you loyal to the past. Assumption opens you to the future. God does not need you to erase your past. He needs you to stop identifying with it. You are not your trauma. You are not your mistakes. You are not your delays. You are not what people did to you. You are who you choose to be now, and who you choose to be now determines what you are allowed to receive. This is why some people stay stuck even after they leave toxic situations. They physically move, but they mentally stay the same. They take the old identity into the new environment, and so the same experiences repeat, just with different faces. God wants to give you a new life, not just a new location, that requires a new self. So you are being asked to drop the version of you that expects disappointment. Drop the version of you that braces for rejection. Drop the version of you that anticipates struggle, because what you expect is what you prepare for. And what you prepare for is what you receive. The old version of you prepared for survival. The new version prepares for miracles. Miracles require openness. Miracles require trust. Miracles require a self that is not constantly guarding against pain. This is why healing is not just about feeling better, it is about becoming someone who can hold more. When you release the old self, you stop reacting from wounds, you stop choosing from fear, you stop loving from insecurity. You stop planning from lack, you begin to act from a place of quiet confidence that what is meant for you is already on the way, and that confidence changes everything. The old you was always asking, what if it doesn't work? The new you says, of course it will. The old you was always asking, what if I lose this? The new you says, what's meant for me cannot be lost. The old you was always asking, what if I'm not enough? The new you knows, I am already chosen. God cannot fully show you who you are while you are still holding onto who you were. So the endings you have experienced were not failures, they were identity shifts. You were being stripped of the attachments that kept you in a smaller version of yourself. The relationships that ended, the jobs that didn't work out, the paths that closed, they were not taking from you. They were freeing you, but freedom feels like loss before it feels like expansion. You do not grieve what you are losing. You grieve who you were when you had it. And that is what God is healing right now, not just your circumstances, but your self-image. Because once your self-image changes, your entire reality must follow. You cannot step into a new chapter while still reading from the old script. So God is saying, release the character you have been playing. Stop rehearsing the old lines. Stop identifying with the old role. The story has changed. You are not the one who barely makes it anymore. You are not the one who gets overlooked anymore. You are not the one who has to struggle anymore. But you must let that identity go for the new one to arrive. This is not about becoming someone else. This is about becoming who you really are. The old version of you was a response to pain. The new version of you is a response to truth. And truth is, you were never meant to live small. You were meant to expand, to receive, to be supported, to be elevated. So let the old you rest. You don't need that identity anymore. What is coming next requires a different you. Waiting is one of the most misunderstood spiritual habits. People think it is patience, they think it is humility, they think it is faith, but in truth most waiting is nothing more than disguised doubt. It is the quiet belief that something is still missing, that something is not yet decided, that something has to change before you can feel secure. And God is asking you to drop that state immediately, because waiting keeps you locked into the identity of someone who does not yet have. Faith is not waiting for proof. Faith is living from the state of fulfillment before the proof appears. God is not asking you to hope your promise will arrive. He is asking you to assume it already has. This is the difference between those who manifest quickly and those who stay stuck. One group keeps checking the world for signs. The other group has already accepted the outcome internally, and reality always follows the inner acceptance. When you assume something is done, your energy changes, your decisions change, your tone changes. Your expectations change. You no longer act like someone who is trying to get something. You act like someone who already has it, and that shift is what forces the physical world to catch up. You do not move into a new reality by chasing it. You move into it by occupying it internally. Most people say, I will believe it when I see it. Spiritual law says, you will see it when you believe it. God is not withholding anything from you. You are postponing it by staying in the state of waiting. Waiting says it's coming someday. Assumption says it's done now. And only one of those creates results. The mind does not know the difference between imagination and reality. It only knows what you accept as true. And what you accept as true becomes the blueprint for what shows up in your life. This is why when someone expects rejection, they find it. When someone expects success, they move differently, they speak differently. They show up differently, and life mirrors that. God is saying, stop living as if your miracle is in the future. Live as if it is already part of who you are. That does not mean pretending or lying to yourself. It means shifting the state you are living from. There is a version of you who already has what you desire. That version is not anxious. That version is not desperate. That version is not checking constantly. That version is calm, certain, and relaxed. That version knows, and God wants you to start being that version now. When you live from fulfillment, you stop reacting to temporary circumstances. You don't let a delay shake you. You don't let a closed door discourage you. You don't let silence make you doubt, because you are no longer looking for confirmation. You already have it inside. That inner knowing is what moves mountains. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. So if you are being someone who is waiting, you will continue to wait. If you are being someone who is fulfilled, you will be fulfilled. God does not need you to do more. He needs you to be different, be someone who expects good, be someone who knows it is done, be someone who is already supported. The moment you assume something is true, you stop giving energy to its absence. And what you stop energizing disappears. So many people unknowingly pray for what they don't want by constantly focusing on what is missing. Where is it? Why hasn't it happened? When will it come? Those questions reinforce the state of not having. God answers the state, not the words. If your state is lack, you receive more lack. If your state is fulfillment, you receive more fulfillment. So God is asking you to shift your state now. Stop waking up thinking maybe today. Start waking up knowing it's already mine. Stop checking your phone, your bank account, your inbox, your circumstances for proof. Start checking your identity. Are you thinking like someone who is waiting, or are you thinking like someone who already received? The one who has does not chase, the one who has does not beg, the one who has does not worry, the one who has expects. Expectation is not passive, it is powerful. It aligns your entire being with the reality you have chosen. And once you are aligned, reality must follow. This is why God told you not to worry, not because problems aren't real, but because worry places you in the state of someone who does not trust the outcome. And the state you live in is the state that manifests. When you trust, you relax. When you relax, you allow. When you allow, things move. You have been trying to control how it happens, when it happens, and who brings it. God is saying, let that go, just know that it's done. Your job is not to figure out the how. Your job is to accept the what. The how is none of your business. The moment you assume the outcome, the universe organizes the path. So what does it look like to live as if it is already done? It looks like speaking with confidence instead of uncertainty. It looks like making decisions from abundance instead of fear. It looks like saying no to what no longer fits. It looks like expecting people to treat you well. It looks like planning for success instead of preparing for failure. These are not small shifts. They are identity shifts. You are stepping out of the version of you that waits and into the version of you that knows. And knowing is the highest form of faith. God is not impressed by how much you plead. He is moved by how deeply you assume. So stop waiting. Stop postponing your joy. Stop delaying your peace. The moment you accept that what you desire is already yours, you free it to show up. Because creation does not respond to your desire. It responds to your state of being, and the state of being God is calling you into now is the state of fulfillment. Be there now. Every time you doubt yourself, you are not just questioning your ability, you are questioning the power that placed you here. You were not formed by accident. You were not given your awareness, your imagination, your desires, and your inner knowing by coincidence. They were given to you as tools of creation, and when you underestimate yourself, you are underestimating the force that moves through you. God does not operate outside of you. He operates as you. Your thoughts, your assumptions, your expectations, these are not small, private things. They are the very channels through which divine power flows into form. When you think, you are not just thinking, you are impressing reality. When you assume, you are not just hoping, you are directing. This is why belief is not passive, it is creative. The reason so many people feel powerless is because they have been taught to see God as separate. They pray to him as if he is far away, withholding, or undecided. But the truth is far more intimate. God expresses through your awareness. When you say, I am, you are speaking from the same source that formed everything. This is why the words I am are so powerful. I am worthy, I am supported, I am chosen, I am successful. These are not affirmations, they are declarations of identity, and identity is the root of all experience. You do not receive what you want. You receive what you claim to be. So when you say, I am unlucky, I am always struggling, I am never chosen, you are not being descriptive, you are being creative. You are shaping the world through the image you hold of yourself. God is not saying, try harder. He is saying, believe higher. Because when you believe in yourself, you are aligning with the source that made you. Doubt is not humility. Doubt is resistance. It is the refusal to accept what God has already placed within you. It is saying, I don't trust what you gave me, and that blocks the flow. Confidence is not arrogance. Confidence is agreement. When you agree with who you are, the power in you moves freely. This is why God is asking you to stop shrinking, stop hesitating, and stop apologizing for your existence. You were not created to be small. You were created to be an expression of something infinite. Your imagination is not random. Your desires are not accidental. Your inner knowing is not fake. They are guidance. They are the voice of God within you, pointing you toward what is meant for you. When you ignore that voice, you feel lost. When you trust it, you feel aligned. So many people live disconnected from their own power because they keep looking outside for permission. They wait for signs, approval, validation, and proof. But God is waiting for something else, your agreement. When you say, I can, the universe says, then you will. When you say, I can't, it says, then you won't. And not because it is punishing you, but because it is obeying you. Your inner authority is real. Every assumption you hold about yourself becomes law in your world. This is why you must be careful what you believe about who you are. If you see yourself as someone who is powerful, life will give you situations to express that power. If you see yourself as someone who is weak, life will give you situations to confirm it. God is not testing you. He is reflecting you, and He is asking you to stop reflecting doubt. You were never meant to be a spectator of your life. You were meant to be a creator. You were not given consciousness to merely react, you were given it to direct. So when you speak, speak with authority. When you think, think with intention. When you imagine, imagine boldly. Because everything you hold in awareness is seeking expression. God is not limiting you. You are limiting yourself by the image you hold, and the moment you change that image, everything changes. You don't need to wait until you feel confident. Confidence comes from deciding who you are. You don't need to wait until circumstances improve. Circumstances improve when your identity does. So decide now, I am guided, I am supported, I am capable, I am chosen, I am protected. Say it not as hope, but as truth. Because what you accept as true about yourself becomes the structure of your life. This is why fear is so dangerous. Fear is the assumption of something unwanted. An assumption is creative. So when you fear, you are building what you don't want. God is asking you to stop feeding fear and start feeding faith. Faith is not blind. It is self-trust. It is knowing that the power that made you will move through you. You are not alone in this journey. You are not unsupported. You are not forgotten. You are not powerless. You are a channel. And when you finally trust what flows through you, everything you have been waiting for begins to move, because God was never withholding. He was waiting for you to believe in the power He placed inside you.